I can't feel my fingers, which means it's basketball season. Outside of Value City Arena with...
I can feel your fingers.
That was weird. I was like, what are you... I didn't feel that. Outside Value City Arena with Bill Landis and Doug Lesmerises to talk about Ohio State basketball season, our projections, what we think about the team, and just everything we can probably come up with in a swift yet entertaining video. First, we'll start with you, Doug. We'll start with predictions. What do you think Ohio State's looking at just from a record standpoint and a performance standpoint?
I'm going to say 25-6, 13-5 in the Big Ten. I think they lose at Louisville. Louisville's a top 10, 15 team. I think that's their non-conference loss. And then actually in the Big Ten, as good as the Big Ten is, they only play Wisconsin once. Actually, the last game of the year here, which could be for first place in the Big Ten. They only play Michigan State once. They only play Nebraska once. They only, they don't hit all the good teams multiple times. So their schedule's doable. I think they're going to be good. I think they're going to be interesting. I think they're going to be fun. I think it's going to be less of a grind than it was last year when I thought that team going into last year might be a great defensive team. And then it wasn't, and they had trouble scoring, and it could get kind of sometimes. I think they're going to be more athletic. They're going to run more. They're going to be more versatile. They're going to have different lineups. I think Thad Matta's going to have be more relaxed and have more fun coaching them. I think it's going to be a really fun year for people to watch, and I think they're going to be good. I don't have I'm curious about this team, but I don't have that many questions about them because I feel like maybe other than inside, they have the guys to fill the holes.
Bill, you didn't cover the team last year, but you have analyzed the schedule like Doug, and you know about basketball. So what do you think?
I think I'm cold. I did look at the schedule. I agree with Doug. I think 25 is attainable, maybe even more than that. The non-conference, like Doug said, is Louisville is the tough one. Maybe North Carolina up in Chicago could be a tough one as well. But other than that, the non-conference is certainly all winnable. And then when you look at the Big Ten is different this year in that the teams in the middle of the pack are pretty good. But I think Ohio State will still be better than all those middle of the pack teams. We'll be able to get some wins against those teams. And the back end of the schedule to me is the one that's interesting. Doug mentioned they play here the last game of the season against Wisconsin. I believe it's 4 of the last 6 games. They have Michigan, Michigan State, Nebraska, and Wisconsin in that kind of home stretch. So that'll be the interesting stretch of the schedule to me to see how they come out of that 4 games and 6-day stretch. But other than that, it looks all winnable. There's a lot of wins out there. I think 25, maybe 26 is certainly attainable.
I think I'm right there with you guys. I'm going to go maybe a game or 2 worse.
Listen, you guys got to give records, though, right? You're going to give records.
Yeah, okay. You said, what was yours?
Yeah.
25 and
6. I just want to make sure I hear a number.
Yeah. What's your number?
I want to be different than Doug, so I'll say 26-5.
Okay, well then I'm going to be different than Doug too, and I'm going to go a game worse, maybe 2 games. I'll talk, then decide. I think that the last few years, Ohio State has had very good teams, and you did mention that it was a grind last year. 2 years ago, it was a grind. There were times where, not as much, but there were mid-season lulls where they got into weird funks, maybe dropped 3 out of 6, lost a weird road game. And sometimes I think that builds character and that builds toughness for the postseason. So I think Ohio State is certainly capable of a postseason run, but I'm not necessarily sure that they're going to just skate by the regular season and get to 25 wins. So I've just made my decision. I think I'm going to make them 23-8. Is that a little low? I was going to go 24-7.
What's that Big Ten record then? If do you see them?
I think they're going to lose both marquee non-conference matchups.
Louisville and North Carolina. Yeah. Okay.
So that gives me a little leeway in the Big Ten. So I think 12 and 6.
Okay.
Yeah, which I think is, if they go 3-3 in a certain point, and then they play really well. I mean, the Big Ten's a tough conference. This is not Big Ten football. I mean, they could lose to games to teams that aren't necessarily nationally recognized, but. We've all been on the road in the Big Ten. Well, you haven't. But we've been on the road in the Big Ten. It's not a very easy thing to do. Even teams like Illinois last year that was a really tough win, I think. So, tough place to win at. So, moving forward, let's dive a little bit deeper now. If they were to struggle, I know that they have a pretty good balanced roster from what we've seen, but what do you think could be reasons for struggles?
Big guys, but I also am very curious to see Shannon Scott's going to be the guy at point guard. D'Angelo Russell, who's going to be the starting two guard, the freshman that everybody's excited about. He'll probably be their leading scorer. He's also the backup ball handler. I think he could, in the end, be a little bit of like an Evan Turner kind of point guard, how we saw Evan Turner run the offense, but he also did everything. I can see them running the shot clock down, and with 10 seconds left in the shot clock, D'Angelo Russell drives the lane and does a spin move and scores. But I don't know that I want him like having to run the offense a lot, so I think Shannon Scott needs to be A, good, B, healthy, C, out of foul trouble. And I think if they get in stretches where some of those things happen, it could be a little weird spot because they're sort of missing that other, as much as they had two, that for the last couple of years they've had two starting point guards because they had Aaron Craft and Shannon Scott would have started for a lot of people. Now they don't really have another point guard beyond Russell and Scott. So if anything is off with Scott, that's going to put more pressure on Russell, who as a true freshman already is going to have a lot on him.
And I think that the big man situation is just always going to be, I know that they brought in Anthony Lee, who's more of a stretch four, but could play five in smaller lineups. But I want to see, I mean, we're not going to play the game where year 4 Amir Williams is going to turn into an all Big Ten player, but is he going to be competent enough to be serviceable to make Ohio State a good enough team? And I think that that's a question. Sometimes the light comes on as a senior, but I think we kind of have an idea of what Amir Williams is, and is that going to be good enough for Ohio State? Trey McDonald, we've heard a lot of really good things about during the offseason too. He's more of an athletic type player, bangs in there a little bit more, I think. He certainly can help, and then, of course, when they go small with Lee, I think that could help. But they could be, in my mind, I could see them in games where they get taken advantage of a little bit off the glass.
It's interesting. We saw him at the open practice here before a football game a couple weeks ago, and Trevor Thompson's playing in that practice. The 7-footer transferred from Virginia Tech, who's not eligible this year because he's sitting out. He looks like it's pretty good. He can't play this year, so it's like, okay, like Trey McDonald that day was playing a lot of 4. It seemed like, and it's like, I don't think Trey McDonald, I don't know how much 4 he's going to play. They might going to need him to play 5, but they're going to need Amir Williams. He doesn't have to be great. I think he has to be a guy they can rely on to start and play some early minutes. If they want to go small in stretches, fine. I don't think, although Anthony Lee played a lot of 5, I think, in the past, I just don't know if you want to rely on him to play 35 minutes a game at 5.
Landis, we'll give you a pass until you get the institutional knowledge.
Thank you.
Or any knowledge about anything in life, like when to wear a coat. You see, like I'm on your bandwagon now because I'm wearing one. Okay, we'll just both give quick surprise players, and then we'll wrap it up. Who's your surprise this year?
I'm going to go with Jayshawn Tate, one of the true freshmen. There have been some David Lighty comparisons. I was always a big David Lighty fan when he was here, as a guy who's like a small forward size, but tough, rebound, defense, leader. I think they're going to have some scores on this team. I think maybe Jayshawn Tate can find a role as a young guy who can rebound and defend and do some interesting things in stretches off the bench and maybe be a little different type of player than some of the other scorers they have.
I think it's I'm going with Keita Bates-Diop. I know that D'Angelo Russell is the guy, the freshman who gets all the attention right now, but I went and saw Bates-Diop play in high school, and there was a game that I saw where he just swished 5 threes in the first quarter, and none of them touched the rim. Last year, Ohio State had stretches where they had a hard time scoring. They didn't have the outside shooting presence that they would have liked. To have guys off the bench, too. Cam Williams is another guy who certainly fits that mold. He missed last year, redshirted with mono, and was just a little bit behind schedule to play last year, but I think that in Thad Matta's mind that he could have played. So to have depth as outside shooters are concerned, this should be a big thing for Ohio State. So there you have it. There are predictions. Outside Value City Arena, Ohio State opens up their season Friday versus UMass Lowell. Got it? And be sure to, put your predictions in the comments, because we would certainly love to hear from you. And also, there's a big football game this weekend that we will be attending in Minneapolis, Ohio State at Minnesota. Be sure to check all of our coverage throughout the end of the week and through the weekend. Again, for Bill Landis and Doug Lesmerises, I'm Ari Wasserman. Thanks for watching.